Everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. We got the major long summer camping trip out of the way. I wish I hadn't. What I mean is I wish I was still there. I managed to accidentally, by booking way back in January or whatever it was, avoid the hottest week of the year here when that heat bubble settled in over the northwest and we had 110 degree temperatures. We were over on the coast enjoying 70 to 75 degree weather, so talk about some dumb luck. Back in the shop, what are we looking at here? This is Charlie Super XL. I'm pretty sure that I've talked about this before. I may not have. I don't know. This is one that was a final project that I took on over, before calling it good. Now, I knew this was going to stretch into the summer just because of the work that was needed. You guys know I don't do the paint stuff anymore, but this was a one-off. I didn't paint it, but I did put the clear coat on it, so that added some extra steps. And there's a bunch of spare parts that he sent along too that needed to be clear coated, and I still got to do a little assembly on them. But here's the main saw. He tore it all down, cleaned it up, painted it, and then individually wrapped and labeled every single little piece. It might have taken as long to unwrap everything as it did to put it halfway together. And even with all of that, and I'll tell you, it's amazing. UPS can manage to chip little pieces here and there of paint. I don't know how they do it, but they do. But it turned out good. It really did. He added the foam here for a cushion on the handle, and it fits really well. I mean, there's no gap down there, and it contours to the bend. So that turned out well. Other mods he made, I don't think you guys are going to be able to see it there, but he really wanted to use as much metal as possible on the saw, so he modded a old style choke rod onto this Zama carb by drilling or adding a bushing to the choke rod so it would fit the larger opening on the Zamas that were meant to use that plastic choke rod. One mod that didn't work out, and I don't know what exactly he did. I'll have to ask him. The old grommet for the throttle rod was kind of goobered up, so he added some material to it, but it ended up being too tall and too stiff. The throttle wouldn't retract all the way, so that particular mod didn't quite work out, but it wouldn't take much to just slim design that down a little bit. And then he wanted to add some rubber absorbers, washers between the lower handle bracket down here in the tank. Yeah, so that it all fits okay. We'll see if when he's running it, if there's any noticeable change in vibration and all of that. But we're pretty much to the point where we can talk about test firing it, and he wanted to do a cold compression check. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way. I've got the throttle locked open and the choke open. One pull puts us to 55. Two pulls to 95. Three pulls to almost 120. Four pulls to 35. And then 5 and 6. That's what I got last time. Just a hair shy of 155 on the compression. Now, of course, it's freshly assembled. New rings, used cylinder, used piston. I think I'm remembering that right. So, rings aren't seated, but I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of change there. The old Homelite publication showed roughly 150 to 160 new on one of these saws. They were not the ultra high compression models, not like a 925 or an XL76 that were commonly between 180 and 190 psi from the factory. So I'm completely happy with that reading. So I'm going to go ahead and dress this thing with the rest of the parts that it needs, which isn't much, and fuel it up, and we'll come back for a test run. Okay. I'm going to give it some more idle time here on the bench, and in fact I'll probably just let it run itself completely dry. That'll help prep it for shipping. I'm not ready to ship yet. I've still got a clear coat. The drive case cover, the can started spitting as I was finishing up on the other parts, so rather than risk a mess there, which it would have been, I've got one more saw I need to work on that's going to require some paint, so I'll wait and pop that can of clear once I've got those parts blasted. Anyhow, I'm real happy with where this is at. You guys saw that idle speed was pretty damn consistent there in the 2600 range, and then it slowly bled off down into the upper 25. Still just a tiny bit rich, but for break-in on the rings and just cleaning out the assembly oil and all of that other stuff in here, I'm 100% fine with that. I have no worries whatsoever about that. That's well below the clutch engagement speed, which is around 3200 RPM. So absolutely no worries there. It would barely move a chattering loose chain, at that idle speed that it's at, if it would even move it at all. So one other mod that's on this saw that I wanted to talk about, again, Charlie did it himself. These OS engine reed assemblies, you can't get the reed valve plates, the metal ones from Homelite, anymore. They've been obsolete for quite some time. The new old stock market is drying up awfully fast too, and the ones that are out there, you guys know, can be 20 bucks a reed or more. That's pretty crazy. So these guys, this is generic. You can see the Chinese writing right on the back. It says made in China. But what you can do is pop their reed block off, put the Homelite one on, and it fits perfectly. And those are I'm not going to open it because I don't want to use it yet, but those are some sort of a nylon type reed that's in there. And that's what's on this saw. And you know, someone's going to ask, well, how can you notice a performance difference? No, I can't. I have no idea, no earthly idea, if there's a performance gain or, you know, loss versus an aluminum reed. Or stainless steel, excuse me. I have no idea. What I will say is this thing starts and runs and revs and idles the way it should. So, if I recall correctly, when I ordered these ones, they were $12. Not a bad deal. I ordered a couple of them. Someday I will use them. I just ordered them to have them, so that when I do need them, I'll have them here. So anyway, other details about this saw, just on the general build, I reused both crankshaft bearings. There was absolutely nothing wrong there, nowhere that I could measure, and they were just fine. For grins, since we were doing the rings, I went ahead and replaced the rod and wrist pin bearings. Charlie wanted me to use a new wrist pin. There were some heat marks on the old one, so given that, I thought, alright, we're just going to do a wrist pin bearing also. No big deal. And, you know, the connecting rod bearing, again, no big deal. Charlie wants a saw as close to new as possible, within reason, on a saw that's from 1981. So that's what we've got here. So those bearings got replaced, new crank seals. He cleaned everything inside and out, so we've got, you know, new starter components. Carb was rebuilt. These Zamas, they get kind of a bad rap, but I like them. They're simple inside, and there's not a lot to go wrong. The high-speed check valve on these is actually, in my opinion, a little more durable, at least in my experience, than on the Walbro SDC carburetors that are probably more common, especially on the older ones. So, you know, whatever suits your fancy, I guess, is what you should run. But anyway, I think I've jabbered on long enough. New clutch shoes and new rim style clutch drum also. That probably just about wraps it up. So anyway, Charlie, I'm going to run this thing some more, let those rings break in, get that tank drained, and then as soon as I've got the drive case cover painted and ready to go, we'll start talking about getting this ship back to you.